Donald Trump, Nick, flopping over the morning after pill, which is something no one wants to see.
Yeah, Trump rejects claims he will ban the morning after pill just hours after suggesting he would limit contraception. Another Democrat lie. Total lie. So he says... it was this classic Trump kind of woolly chat, because they were talking about restrictions on the woman's right to use contraception. He said, we're looking at that, and I'm going to have a policy on that very shortly. And it's very interesting, which is just classic Trump fluff. Many people are talking about it. It's a tremendous policy.
You're just telling me this for the first time.
Yeah, I'm hearing this for the first time. That was his great moment. But then he put in block capitals on Old Truth Social. I have never and will never advocate imposing restrictions on birth control or other contraceptives. But then there's the issue of the morning after pill, which seems to be a slightly separate one. And he said things really have to do a lot with the states. So on that one, he was more evasive and suggested it was the states which will decide themselves. It's a weak spot. It's considered a weak spot for the Republicans, especially post the midterms, when they seem to have lost ground by being too radical on the pro-life issue. I don't particularly think it's radical to not want to abort babies, but that's me. But it was seen that way.
Personally, I mean, the thing for me was... and I probably am in a minority here, but just technically speaking, legally speaking, Roe v. Wade was bad law. It was not a constitutional issue, and they could have passed an amendment. You know, there was 50 years of opportunity when they could probably have made it a federal law that guaranteed a woman's right to an abortion. But because Roe v. Wade was sitting there, it was not felt necessary to do so. But he hasn't stopped the states allowing it to happen. But I am being legalistic, and I realise it's much more emotive than that.
But just in the case of this, it's like, for him to then do his capital letters, like, I never said that. Yeah. It's like, you did say it in a sort of, we're looking at it. Well, then
Why do you think the morning after pill is more emotive? Does that like strike people as a tiny bit like an abortion?
I guess that's what it is.
It isn't at all, is it? It does actually prevent the thing getting embedded in the...
So it's like a pre...
So it's nothing like an abortion, but is it that they are at that moment where... It's very hard to get into their mind. Yeah, exactly. You know, because I still think of it, I'm just pragmatic, right? It's like, there's a point at which I feel you shouldn't scrape a viable... entity,
The morning after pill maybe is taking it to another level, but even someone like Christopher Hitchens conceded that, not conceded, he advocated that conception was the only reasonable time you can really cite. Philosophically, he said there was any other time period was arbitrary.
Well, and it's not arbitrary if you can say that there are some conditions in which a baby can be aborted when it could conceivably have been born. I mean, that's not a philosophical,
Right, but anything in that earlier period, between 1 and 2 and 4, and that is the philosophical area where he says you end up at conception.
That's the ping.
That's a big discussion for the scope of this show.